Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and some old friends. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. XNC hero himself, Mr.
My
Leaker,
God.
the mag is joining us for about 30 minutes, folks, to kind
Yeah.
of give us some, some further information on the hardware that is expected in 2026. Basically, I think ultimately we're going to get into, is it a big deal with new hardware? Yeah, it kind of is. And kind of what he said on XNC excites me because I'm buying both. I'm going to get the box underneath the TV and I'm going to get the portable to take with me. I love the separation of city and state, so to speak. I think there's a lot to get into there. I think it's going to certainly calm a lot of the fears regarding if your digital library is going to be safe if there's no Xbox. Well, folks, in 2026 there's going to be two new Xboxes, not one of them. Again, they're going to go with the two SKU approach, based on some rumors that we are hearing. I'm super stoked for it. I've been calling since 2020 for them to have their own official handheld, and I love the dockable idea. But Mag, no, we're not going to do any intros because obviously you're limited time. I do want to start and go right to you. Obviously, XNC, great as always. You and Colt do such a great job whenever you have your guests on. Obviously, they always do an amazing job. But let's talk hardware, dude. I mean,
Sure.
is this should the somewhat confirmation that we may or may not get, because we don't know what's happening next week. Remember, there's going to be a quote unquote business meeting. Do they mention hardware? I don't know. But let's talk about it.
I doubt. First of all, hello everybody. It's been a while since I've been able to get on this panel here. It's a pleasure as always. Boom, Asante, and of course Hargi Chani. It's in the chat. I'm so happy to be here. So hello everybody, and listen. Let's get right into this. They're not going to announce hardware next week. That's not on the docket. I think that what they may do, if they even make mention of it, saying that they're working on something. But however, there's no need to. That would seem redundant because they did already mention in the past that they were already working on another set of hardware. I do recall also seeing Phil on the Twitter X streets there, and he was talking about the exact same thing, saying to somebody, I think it was about 3 weeks or a month ago. Actually, I think it was Italian Clowns, and he said, "I promise new hardware is on its way." And I recall reading that directly. So they may not even mention that, or maybe they will. Maybe they make just a brief mention of it so that it could calm some of the fears. Now, the one thing I do want to actually get out of the way before I even step into the hardware space is that no one ever said that Xbox is going anywhere. Not one. I mean, people got angry, people got upset, and there was a lot of people in their feelings and this and that, whatever. But if you actually look at it and sit down and really read into what everybody was talking about in the leaks and everything else, no one said Xbox is going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's still going to remain exactly where it is. It just may branch out. And when I say by May, it's not 100% certain. They've bought themselves about 7 or 8 days to basically maybe reposition their, you know what I mean? Like what the direction are they going? They're not going to change the direction. Someone in the chat already said that they're like, hey, they're not going to change the direction, not that quickly. And they're not going to do it because some people on Twitter are upset. However, they will pivot ever so slightly to maybe make it more palatable for people, right? So we shall see. As for now getting back to the hardware situation, my understanding is that when this whole thing came out and all these leaks and everything else, whatever, I received a document the same way just before just before New Year's, and it was talking about all these things about how they were considering. They didn't say it was for sure. It said considering putting X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to list all the games, right? And these were games that are up for consideration by a committee of people. So they were looking at the situation. Nobody said it's happening 100% here, 100% there, 100% here. But, you got to, the seesaw also bounces the other way when people are like, well, if everybody else is hearing about this, I mean, there's got to be some truth to it. The fact that Phil didn't deny it also is a bit of a thing where he's like, we'll talk about it next week. You know what I mean? There must be some truth to it. Hardware-wise, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because that exact same report that I received also had a separate section about future hardware. So my thing is all the other people that got the same, clearly the same documents I received. I wonder if they are holding off on that because they're like, well, we'll wait down the road to see maybe if it's not believable or whatever else. But I'll tell you guys anyway what it said. And what it did say is that the next generation of consoles will have two SKUs. It will have an under the TV box a la Series X. All right. So I would assume that would be the more powerful option, as they have always said that they're not going to relinquish power. However, they did say that they will still focus on having cutting edge console hardware. Right. So. Right. So they're gonna keep that box under there. The second one is a lot more interesting. The second one is what it said was a dockable, less powerful system. That would be the Series S for the next generation. And by dockable, I would imagine that with the popularity of the ROG Ally, of the Steam Deck, of the Buzz. Never mind. Also, I know it's only a streaming device, but the PS Portal is still sold out everywhere. So obviously,
yep.
There you go. Asante's got he's flashing it right now for everybody. There you go. Very Vanna of you, sir. Very Vanna of you. And what do you get? You pick door number 3. So here that would be
ROG Ally.
Yeah, right. Can you imagine? So the thing is with that is that it's that's obviously. Oh, and the Vita 2. There's a talk about Sony releasing a Vita 2.
That story dropped last week, Mag. Yep.
Right. And the buzz around these are enormous. So what ends up happening is like, you know what? Why not? Why not? And then of course you've got the Switch 2, which also, from my understanding, is also going to be a dockable device, obviously much more powerful. So why not? Why wouldn't Microsoft do the exact same thing? Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. And I think that it's great for, again, for portability, mobility, all that sort of thing. And that seems to be the gaming way of the future, which is funny because it was the gaming way of the past at one point too, with the Game Boys and the Sega. Not the Sega. What the hell? Yeah, there's a Sega. Which, what the hell was it called?
The Game Gear.
The Game Gear. The Sega Game Gear, the Nintendo Game Boy, stuff like that, right? It's obviously made its way back in popularity. So here's the interesting thing. What it did say in my report, now, whether this is true or not, I'm just letting you guys know this is what it said, okay? So don't crucify me. It said that Jason Ronald is not heading up this generation of hardware. That struck me like a bolt of lightning when I was like, what? It said, but instead, who's heading up this generation of hardware is the Microsoft Surface team. Now, with the handheld dockable device, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? You could have a touch screen in there. You could have a tablet with controls on it. I don't know. I have no idea how they're going to operate this thing or what it's going to look like. Nobody knows. However, the fact that the Microsoft Surface team is possibly developing this situation, that would make a lot of sense with this dockable hardware, right? So I think there's a little bit of truth there. So we shall find out. However, that should calm everybody's fears. Like I get messages and DMs for the last 4 days where everybody's like, is Xbox done forever? Are they closing up shop? I'm like, no one ever said that. No one ever said
close up shop.
They're not. And thank you, Hargy. They're not. They're going to be there. And I keep telling everyone, I'm like, guys, listen, it's just an option. It's an option for them.
Can I add some context to this real quick? Because last night Mav did one of his Mav casts, and I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're not subscribed to Fun Speculation, folks, I'm here to tell you you're doing it all wrong. Because he is probably one of the finest solo acts. When he gets out there, he's on camera for 2 hours talking. I don't understand even how he does it, to be honest with you. I can't last 20 minutes because my voice is going, but I guess he's been doing it for so long. He made a phenomenal point because I listened to it today through and through as I was, when I do housework, that's what I listen to. And he said, how does it make sense for Microsoft to completely close shop, go full third party, not have hardware when they put their wares on another platform, they're only getting 70% back. When they keep it on their own hardware, they're getting 100% back. So why would you give that up and have to try and make that money on only a couple other platforms? And I think that is exactly what you're talking about, Mag.
It makes no sense to walk away. Like Hargeet said, I could see Asante shaking his head too at one point a minute ago. I was like, this is not happening. All right, this is not happening. So the thing is, I did say though, however, when you make an upwards of $80 billion, if you combine both of them, about $80 billion acquisitions, apart from the very unpopular, thought that I have spoken many times, where I said they didn't do it for the hardcore. They didn't invest $80 billion
really
for the hardcore.
They did it because this is interesting. Mag, please push back if you think if I'm going too far to the left here. One of the regions, or one of the many regions outside of the Americas that Microsoft wants to get a foothold in, is Asia. And one of the things that we know, especially in Korea, especially in Japan, they're very fond of the Series S. It's a smaller console, which fits in their lifestyle, right? But the interesting part about those two particular regions is that they are very mobile gaming heavy. So if you can introduce a dockable Xbox that, unlike the PlayStation device, which is, I've used it, it's phenomenal. That screen is gorgeous, but I have no use for it because I'm not really a mobile gamer here, so I wouldn't spend the money. But it makes sense for Microsoft to potentially have that box underneath the TV with all the bells and whistles that you want. But when you look in where they could really, really make a dent in regions where they've literally had no foothold whatsoever, having a dockable, lesser powerful console that you can download things to, it would be an apps. It would be the generation's Series S. I think that would work.
Sure, absolutely, it would work. And that what they're trying to do, like I said, this $80 billion acquisition was not for the hardcore. It wasn't for the 15-20%. And what they're trying to do, and then on top of that, you add on the possibility of a dockable portable device. Well, it's dockable, which means it's also under your television, but you could also take it with you. So you've got that. So you're opening up that option there too, right? And then on top of that, if all else fails, and everybody here knows when you're working on a business plan of any venture, whether it's $25 or whether it's $80 billion, there's always such thing as a contingency plan. Even when you go out for dinner with your significant other or your friends or whatever, and you say, "Okay, honey, we're going to go to this restaurant tonight," and then if it's sold out or there's no reservations, we're going to go to this restaurant. That's what a contingency plan is. One of Microsoft's contingency plans, I can absolutely assure you, it said that if all else fails, which it hasn't, but if all else failed, we could just become the new Tencent. We could become a third-party publisher and be the second biggest on the planet. They would have been the third if Embracer wasn't completely falling apart at the seams. But right now you've got Tencent, and then you would have Microsoft right there. And so they would be printing cash without the burden of R&D and hardware and this and that and ecosystems. And that's just DEFCON 5 stuff. That's like if everything went to hell, which it hasn't. They're not growing. There's no question of that. Don't listen to that ABK stuff, by the way. They just adopted that for the what's it called, for the shareholders. It says, "Oh, look at us, we grew 49%." Yeah, but you didn't do anything. All you did was adopt one, and you didn't add in the overhead cost of that. So all they did was say, "Oh yeah, look at us now." But in fact, they're not really growing that much. So what they're trying to do is expand. That's what everybody else would try to do. If your business is not growing, you know what I mean? If you then you advertise further, right? Then you try to reach further. That is exactly what you do when your business is not really progressing the way they want it to, right? If it's not reaching projections. So I could see all of these things that we just talked about in the last 15 minutes. All of them kind of are pieces of a puzzle that sort of come together, and that would be like their next, you know what I mean? Like their next thrust of business in the near future. And that could be something. It could be something that they're going to talk about next week, saying, "Here's our new multifaceted attack on the future of Xbox, the next 5 to 10 years. And we're going to try that. And then if that doesn't work, then we're going to try something else. And if that doesn't work, then we'll just become a third-party publisher, call it a day, whatever." But until then, they're not going anywhere. They're still doing all right. They're making billions of dollars anyway. They're not losing money. Okay. But I'm just saying, these are all things that people can look forward to. So I hope that sort of quells people's fears that like Xbox is going somewhere. They're not going anywhere. They're still there. They're still an option, and there's still going to be a next generation of hardware in 2.5 years from now. So my understanding is still late 2026. Some people say, I don't know, some guy, I can't remember his name, Law something or other. He was saying like 27, 28. That is lunacy. No. That's never going to happen. So 2026 is where they're aiming at.
Yeah, the something law. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, something law is dead. Moore's law is dead. That's it.
Yeah.
There.
He said something about look out, there's trouble because there's no AMD contract. Listen,
They'll fix these things, Boom. You know
I'm
what I mean?
not worried about it at all, and people shouldn't be either.
We're gonna have a staggered release of hardware, and what's gonna happen is the next piece of hardware that's coming out for gamers are gonna be the PS5 Pro, and then from the PS5 Pro, they're gonna enjoy a solid 2 years of of having a superior power over the Xbox consoles. Obviously, not the PCs. The PCs are depending on how much money you have, right? And then
that's also that. Yeah, I mean, again, is it going to how much more powerful? Because
probably not a whole lot, but it's going to be. It's going to be. They're going to advertise the hell out of that. You know how they are, right? So they're going to do that. That brings up a whole other questions, which could be left for another show. However, then in 2026, then I could see Microsoft or Microsoft/Xbox leapfrogging over the PS5 Pro. And then they got it. And then the PS6, and then they leapfrog. You know what I mean? It's just going to be back and forth, as it's always been, as it always will be. And it will continue to do so until we are done gaming. So it's just the way it's going to be. So that's the projection that I see. And that's a projection that I've been sent to in, like I said, in these documents I received. So let's see what happens, folks. I mean, it's be interesting. Who the heck knows if this is all like true or not? But I mean, we'll find out soon enough, won't we?
Well, I mean, obviously next week is, we're halfway through the week, folks. Next week is going to come and go. Hopefully they don't wait until the end of the week to have this, business meeting. I know I saw some stuff out there where no one on the actual Xbox team knows what's going on. And that was reported by Tom Warren. Folks, I'm here to tell you that what do I know? Tom Warren's an actual journalist. I'm just a knucklehead podcaster. That's not what I have heard. But then again, his connections are a lot more stout than mine or pointed than mine. So I will say this. I think that I'm really glad Mag came on here to kind of just confirm that hardware is planned. It's planned for as soon as 2026. It is going to have two SKUs, one of which is going to be what most diehard Xbox gamers want. They want that box, whatever it's going to look like, to be under their TV, and they're going to play it. And who knows? And again, this is where now, Mag, any indication on whether or not this is all digital?
Oh, well, I don't know that. The only thing I do know that I did hear whispers of a while ago. Well, first of all, that refresh was completely canceled. I heard about that a month ago. So I got that message from my person saying, just so you know, that hardware refresh and any hardware refresh before next gen have been completely scrapped off the table. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't care anyway. I wasn't going to buy it, but it was just knowledge. The only thing I had question of is I really want that Xbox controller with the haptics and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I want the DualSense 5 Xbox controller they were talking about. That'd be really cool. However, they're probably scrapping that for next gen too. That would be my guess. They were like, why release just the controller and then try to implement that technology into the current hardware? No point. They might as well just hang on to it, release it with the next gen console. So I could see that. As for all digital, I did hear also some whispers about that what they were gonna do is that they were gonna have all digital consoles, and if you wanted a hard drive, you'd have to purchase it separately.
You mean
somewhere in the range of $80 to $100. Sorry, what the hell did I just say?
You said hard drive.
Oh, hard drive. Whoops, sorry, my bad. I meant disk drive. Sorry, I meant disk drive. You would have to purchase it separately. Remember the 360? They had the HD DVD. You could buy the separate disk drive.
You know something that's actually
that's fine though. I like that. It's okay.
I don't mind that because nowadays, like even today, when you buy a laptop, like for instance, we bought Mrs. Boom a new Alienware. It's running a 40 card. It's gorgeous. There's no disk drive. The one before that she had that was also an Alienware, disk drive. She bought a side loading, drive that you just pop the disc in when she wants to, transfer music and stuff. And I actually think that's pretty brilliant. It gives your physical gamers an option, which of course options are great. and an all digital. Now, I don't really buy anything, physical anymore because, I'm pretty much all digital except for Nintendo. But I mean, listen, digital's coming, folks. I know we don't want to accept it, but digital's coming.
So, but next gen will be digital only as far as the game releases. But what it does do is it still allows you to buy your Series X or your Xbox One or 360 or original Xbox. If you have those discs, you can still use them.
Yes.
Right? And if you want to still use it as a media center and you have 4K Blu-rays or Blu-rays, right, you can still play them.
You can still play them. Yeah.
Here, guys, I just went back on my messages here from one of my people, and this was from the 26th of January. He said that person said also all the new Xboxes won't have disk drives standard. They will offer an external one for one of the models only currently.
And that would probably be the non-portable, but just from a logistics,
that would be
probably what the reason is, right?
Right. So that's I literally just quote. That's an actual
perfect. Though that's fine. I'm happy with that.
Hargeet is right.
Backwards compatibility.
It would be
that's the cool
X.
thing.
Yeah, it would be the X, the new Series X under the TV would have the option of purchasing an external I keep saying hard drive, external disk drive, but they will not come standard with any disk drives.
That's good.
And that's
good.
Well, that cuts cost for sure, right? I mean, again, we don't know what these next generational systems are going to be. Hell, we don't even know what Sony's going to charge for a Pro.
And for a lot of people that won't use it, like, why pay for it? I get that. I totally do. And right, for those who have an old library of physical discs, buy it when you want to. Right, you don't have to buy it immediately either. Buy it when you want to. You can add it on a year later. Now you have the ability to play all your old games, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it makes sense.
At the end of the day, it's the option, right? I mean, if there was no option, I think that would be a big problem. And I think that they have, obviously, we've talked about this before. Microsoft, whether you like them, hate them, or otherwise, they do think 20, 30 years into the future. And I would imagine that in the Xbox division, you can't. I mean, one of the things that especially Phil Spencer has driven the point home, and Keisante elaborate on this is your physical. Well, your Xbox games. They're supposed to move with you, whether that be OG Xbox, whether it be Xbox 360, Xbox One, or now Xbox X and Series X. S. You obviously are going to want, if you are a physical collector, be able to play those games. And I think the fact that it has been confirmed based on the information that Mag just gave us, that there is going to be an ability to play a disc through this external is phenomenal.
So first and foremost, I will thank the Mag for opening the door so that I can speak on certain things that he has said. Things that he has said.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about it.
I will say, first and foremost, for those, anytime anybody goes, for the physicals, I have to be the guy that actually is you and tells you physical has been dead since the 360. They just keep selling you $70 frisbees and you keep buying them. They don't exist. They will remove them anytime they so choose. If you are a physical person, you better find some way of ripping them out of those people's libraries, because that's the only way you actually own them. I'm just letting you know, because the minute they decide to, they can rip it from the library. You got nothing to say, nothing to do. If you're a physical person, you better learn how to dump your games from those discs and those digital stores. That's that. Okay? So physical is a lie. They're just kind of telling you the truth now and not even offering it to you because it's digital. It's been digital. Nothing is physical anymore, unless you're talking a Switch.
But at least you have the option to keep using that disc as a license. Though you're right. I mean, ultimately,
until they decide to take it away from you. Yes.
Even in BC, you don't have the ability to play it until it downloads code to allow you to use that backwards compatibility, right?
Exactly.
And that's all fair. It's just the fact that, hey, I have
good
my
they
disc.
give you the options.
I can still use it, right?
It's just, it annoys me when they go, it's a physical meat. No, it's not. It's a hex key hidden in a frisbee that then gives you a download code. That's
all it is.
Yeah, it's not a cartridge.
That's all it is.
The only reason why I collect
on a Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have my Nintendo, I have my cartridge, I play it.
Well,
so and folks will say, but I can play it offline. Yes, because they have a 30-day or less check-in. So until you do that, you're fine. Imagine a world where you're not connected to the net. Imagine a world where the digital, that console is done and they're not dealing with it anymore. That physical turns to nothing. Anyway,
imagine if they had said that instead of one day when they announced the Xbox One. Yeah, every like 30 days, every 90 days, you're just gonna have to
Mhm.
check in just because like we have to validate
that's
that you
it.
actually
That's
have a
right.
license.
That's right.
Like
So let's talk a little bit about this wonderful news that the mag has presented us in the form of one of these guys, right? The old grown man switch, I call it. So what I will say is, it is super interesting that you say that you've heard that the Surface team is building it, because
That's
that
correct.
makes so much sense to me, and I'll tell
It
you
does,
why.
doesn't it? Yeah.
And this is my cheap plug, and I'm telling you now, when I am proven, if nay when I am proven right, we will be effing insufferable on our show, because we've been talking about it for months.
You mean
Even
you
before it
mean
was
you already
sexy.
weren't? Sorry.
Yeah.
Not you.
Oh, it's gonna get
you know
worse.
Who
It's gonna
you
get
know who I'm
worse.
talking about.
I know who you're
wow.
talking about. It's gonna get worse, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna walk
Oh
around with
my
pimp hats
goodness.
on. It's gonna be a thing. We
he's
have been
already
talking
doing
about
it.
this.
Did you
We
see him
have
with
been
the
talking
picture of
about
the
this
thing? And he says, "My new
forever, yeah.
Xbox." Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Carry on.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Carry on.
No. We've been talking about it forever, because in our estimation, right, in order for the grand vision that we want to see is one amalgamation of your gaming environment, right? So, and we've said this. We said this a couple of weeks ago, before any of this stuff happened, and there was no insider dope or anything like that. It's just, if you think logically, there's only so many places they can go, right? So, and a real quick technology lesson. They use hypervisors, these little bubbles of game environments on their console, right? So wherever a console lives and they have that bubble in there, it turns on, it's a 360. It turns on, it's an Xbox One. It turns on. They've been doing that since the 360, since the 360 gen, right? So every year they virtualize a new one and they add it to the mix. So when you load up your Xbox, you're loading up the dashboard bubble, and then it goes away, and then the console bubble comes up, the game bubble comes up, and then the back compat bubble comes up, right? They are disassociating that and putting it in someplace else. So that place can be with the Surface team. Imagine having a device like this that you turn on and that bubble still pops. And it's exactly the same as what you're used to, it used to be connected to that plastic. So you thought, oh, that's where Xbox lives. No, Xbox live wherever those hypervisors do. And if they are on the console, they can disassociate them and put them on the operating system. And now this is an Xbox. This becomes an Xbox. Your desktop is an Xbox. Any place that it can run that operating system becomes an Xbox, because those hypervisors can live there as well. We have been theorizing that forever. And
So
now it seems like they might be getting closer to the vision that we've been talking. Go ahead, Hardy.
So do you think it's like the Xbox Core OS, or do you think it really is just Windows? That you just take Windows.
So
and
I don't see a world where, and we've theorized about that. I don't see a world where they take Windows as it is today and do that, because Windows as it is today has a lot of fat. It has a lot of tech.
No. You take the, like they have a Windows Core, right? That basically, know about what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
The OS that's just a core,
the OS kernel with nothing else on top. Yes.
And you take OS Core and you say, all right, we're going to now layer on Xbox UI, just like they do now, right? The Xbox UI is supposed to be a Windows 8 UI that they took, right?
The Metro UI.
Layer it on top and say, okay, you got Windows, and hey, I can sell this as a package and say I'm going to sell Windows. That's the Windows Console Edition.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Imagine a world, Hardgeek. Imagine a world where they have disassociated that paradigm from the physical box, right?
Yeah,
it's there if you want it, but it can be other places too, wherever Windows is. Let's just say, right? Imagine that world, right? Now, imagine you want to play on this, you turn it on, the hypervisors are there. So now you're on Xbox. But this is a full-fledged machine. So you can also possibly load Steam, or you can load the Apple or any other store there, in addition to the hypervisor. So imagine what this becomes. Your one-stop shop for all things.
Yeah,
gaming.
and why I say games? Windows is cool is you have Android, right? Because they have an Android subsystem.
Android is in there.
You have Linux, right? Because you have a Linux subsystem. You have Windows. And then, so you can say, hey, we're going to.
And then you have hypervisors that let you get all your back compat.
Exactly,
it's
right?
Already connected to Azure. So you have all of your back compat saves. Your licenses are there because Microsoft keeps your licenses. So even in the far-flung future, when you go, oh, we don't have consoles anymore, every piece of hardware that runs Windows is a console. at that point.
Yeah, so like that would be like the direction to go, because then also like
Yes.
Microsoft, right? They like packaging stuff up that we use ourselves and we sell it to other people, right? So this is perfect. Like it puts everything
Yes.
together.
Yeah.
You
But
get
again,
an all-in-one
this
gaming
is-
device.
This is
It's
about
mobile,
choice.
Linux, Windows. It gives you the Xbox stuff because it's got all the hypervisors, an Xbox UI. And hey, if you want to switch back to Explorer and go back to the desktop OS, we can give you like a boot option.
Yes.
That switches you
Exactly.
back,
or something. That's right. Yeah.
Right?
But
Or
neither-
you have
but
multiple
hold on now.
desktops. You
Hold
can
on
go to
now.
another
I
desktop.
know
And
you might
you
be
know what I mean?
scaring the console mains here. This
Which
is
is
your
me,
choice.
which is
You're
me.
not. You're
Right.
not forced to do that, right? If
Right.
you're a person who are so used to, hey, because me, I'm a tinkerer. I play everywhere I can. I have
Exactly,
multiple devices with different use cases.
It's like
But if you're a
dev mode.
person,
It's
who
like
sits
dev
down
mode.
in front of your living room and you only play on your console, that is always going to be available to you because it's just there, right?
Yep.
The interesting thing about this is it gives you far more options because if you think about it, like the mag has been saying, right? These things are around now. And guess what they run? Windows. These guys just haven't been capitalizing on the fact that all of these things run Windows, right? My tinkerer brain, the one that what I have wanted is for all of these guys to get rid of their dumb front ends that don't really do much
Oh my
because
God,
they're trying
the
to hide
Windows
Windows
UIs are
and let
horrible.
Microsoft
It's
let
so
Microsoft
terrible.
give me the proper UI so that no matter which device I boot up, I'm still having a consistent UI.
Yeah,
Now,
and what they'd have to do
suspect-
is work with each one of them, right? And say, we're gonna bundle the updates, because that's the part that really sucks. Right? I
Yes.
got to get driver updates for this. I got to get firmware updates for that. No.
Yeah.
Just like my Xbox, you know what? Overnight, it just downloads a package bundle of everything and it just does an update. It reboots. I'm good. Right?
Yeah.
It's got to be that simple. But that means they work
So,
with each one of these hardware partners and make
So,
that happen.
I honestly, I hear I've heard, and for those who've been looking, you haven't heard me screaming into the void. What I have learned, and this is honestly, genuinely, what I have learned through all the back and forth that I've seen online, the people debating and all of this, right? What I have learned is how you come into this gaming sphere dictates a lot of how you feel about it. If you come into this gaming sphere as a hardcore, I love my consoles, I'm here, I'm about the Xbox, that's my brand, I love it, and you hear news of it potentially changing in any way, shape, or form, fear, right? People don't like change, and I have to respect that. I do. I completely do. 100%. In the beginning, I was like, what's going on? I get it. People really, really feel invested in the platform. And if it sounds or feels like the platform is going away, that is a scary place because you've invested a lot of your time, your energy, what's the future going to be like, and this and that and the third, right? But just from a logical place, this company, they are not the ones that they've built up enough cachet, so much so they are so much in the world of never leaving anyone behind. You can still see the Windows 95 control panel in Windows 11 today. There's no way they go, yeah, we're done, cut bait, and your entire library is gone.
That was never
It's not gonna
part
happen.
of the equation. Yeah,
never gonna be part of the equation, right? And I have a feeling, and obviously we have to wait and see. We could all be wrong. That's the hedge with all of this. Take it with huge gobs of salt, right? But there's I expect that there is a list of people that folks are going off. Okay, so what do our fans want? They want to keep their libraries. Check. They want to make sure new games are enticed into their library. Check. They want to make sure the game saves follow them where they go. Check. There is no way, shape, or form they go, well, in order for us to do this, we're going third party and this is happening and that happening and the console's gone and it's been gloom and doom out there. And I really don't see that being the case.
I think what really is at the core of a lot of the conversation, especially when it comes to the gloom and doom, is the fact that we have not had any of the talking heads that we are used to. The one thing, and maybe folks, we are, and I'm not making an excuse. I'm saying maybe we are a bit spoiled because Nintendo fans don't get this kind of talk from Nintendo. Sony fans definitely don't get it. We are used to Sarah Bond and Aaron Greenberg and Matt Booty, and specifically the head of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer, getting out onto the socials, giving us the lowdown and talking to us. This particular situation is, I would imagine, bigger than them. It's bigger than the Xbox division, and now you have the money men and women looking at this. And again, we all feared this. Oh no, like get ABK. But what happened, and I think you and Everborn Casante have talked about this both on your show, and we've talked about it privately. The fear of, if this thing gets too big, you can now have the corporate eyeballs on the brand. And
but
things are going to change.
While I agree with you on that, Boom, and that's a valid fear that we all had, and it's still a fear that potentially could be in the mix, right? We cannot forget that those that we used to champion before have not gone out to lunch. They've not taken a back seat.
They're
so,
right there.
So even if there are changes afoot, which clearly there's been a lot of smoke, and he didn't say nothing to see here. He said, we'll see you next week, right? So even if there's changes afoot, trust me.
Sorry,
Hargy
got it.
I know. I got that one. Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Yep. Thank you.
Even if those changes are abound, there is you should still rely on the fact that, hey, back in the day, there have been many situations where people have been like, hey man, Phil knows what he's doing. Hey man, Sarah Bond can do it. Hey man, do not diss Peaches. So how about you follow that same energy right now? Let them speak before you assume that they've lost their minds, right? Let them speak, because I suspect what they will say will raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Listen, Hargeet, we're going to let you go, but Mag, I don't know how much time you have. You said 30 minutes.
Yeah, I basically got a bail, but I will. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, please, by all means, do your closing spiel.
Oh, yeah.
We want to get you out of here, brother.
No problem. Gentlemen, even for a short period of time, it was pleasant. But I will listen to the rest of the replay after, as I always do. And I always listen to all these shows. And I got to tell you, one last thing I was going to say, with everything that Hargeet and Asante have been talking about just now, I could see something else, and this will be the last thing I say before I leave, that what they're doing on top of, they know, and I mean, we've heard Phil say it before in that interview when Redfall came out and everything else, and he was talking in the summer, and he says, we're not going to out console Sony, we're not going to out console Nintendo, this again, and you're not going to beat them. Sony is going to continue to trounce you in the console market. And then when the Switch 2 comes out, the Switch 2 is going to trounce the hell out of Sony and Microsoft, right? It's going to be, it's just, you know what I mean? That position of power is always going to be there between those two companies. But you know what Microsoft is doing? They're finding a way to your wallet no matter what. And that's what they're going to do at the end of the day. They're like, well, you know what? We can't be the dominant console in every home. Clearly, look at the numbers. They're not the dominant consoles in everybody's home. They're like, but how can we get to their wallets no matter what? So what you're doing is basically, it's a war of attrition. I mean, basically, they're running a company of Trojan horses. You buy the bank. What are they doing? Every time someone buys Call of Duty on Switch 2 and on PlayStation, Microsoft gets paid. Every season pass.
You know what
Microsoft
I've said, Mag?
gets paid. Yeah.
I've said that while some of the Warriors love the battle on the field, Microsoft got up one morning and decided they could buy the field. Hell, they could buy the city.
That's what I'm saying.
Field.
Like,
hell,
why
they could buy the country that the city is. that they're like, they don't need to be on the field.
Why pay bank fees when you can buy the bank?
Yes.
So remember I said that before about the end of the Justice League. You know, when Clark Kent says to Bruce Wayne, he goes, "How'd you get my mom's house back? I bought the bank."
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason, the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're going to do that and they're going to make their money. First of all, it doesn't really matter. We shouldn't care about how they're going to make their money because they're going to make it. What you should care about as a gamer is that you're going to continue to get your games and be able to access the games that you've already purchased and the ecosystem that you've invested in, right? That's what you should be worried about. Don't worry about how many trillions of dollars or billions of dollars they're making, because they're going to make it. And they're going to find a way to make it because they're a corporation. That's what they do. But at the end of the day, they know they can't out console people and whatever. So what they're going to do is they're going to, for all those people who will not leave the Sony ecosystem or the Nintendo ecosystem, they're going to make you have the Xbox ecosystem as their secondary, right? I mean, you look at my house, you could say, okay, well, or whoever's house, you could say, okay, well, Xbox is the dominant console in this house, but everybody's got a Switch. Or you go to the next person's house and the dominant console of that house is the PlayStation, but everybody's got a Switch. You see what I'm saying? The common denominator is that it seems that throughout the last 5-6 years, everybody's got a Switch. So,
but there is one interesting common denominator that most people don't bring up.
Right.
Sometimes the Switch gets respect and it deserves it, and it will, right? Sometimes Xbox does battle, right? And they don't get enough. Sometimes PlayStation does battle, they don't get enough, and they all agree that where does it have to go? PC. And
yes, well, that's the other thing.
Where is Microsoft putting their hypervisors?
Right.
On PC.
On PC.
So then when you're there,
you've seen them
you get it all.
Well, you see how there seems to be a shift of focus from the Xbox console to PC and you see the dynamic shift changing of a lot of Xbox gamers saying, I'm not going to bother anymore. I'm just going to get PC. And a lot of them have already made the migration to PC. I've heard a lot of Twitter Spaces. I've heard a lot of YouTube.
Microsoft loves.
They don't care.
They don't no. See, they love that because
they love it.
I will say this again. I have a PS a Series S right over there. The chip in it, the closest equivalent to a retail version is $320. That thing costs $299.
Right,
so when you buy that, you're costing them money. Why would you want them? Why do they want you to buy that when you could just subscribe with the existing hardware you have now and all they do is make money?
Hence this refocus toward PC. You could feel it. Like, I mean, you can't ignore it. You could feel, like, how many Xbox gamers have you seen in chats, live chats, whatever else? I'll say, I feel like they're not paying attention to us. I'm like, they're not. But I mean, they are. They are, but that's not their focus. But I'm going to leave that. But I'm going to leave you with one last thought. And when you talk about PC, I just read an article actually just before I was making my way onto the show tonight. Apparently, Helldivers 2 is making some serious numbers on what?
Yes.
They launched day and date on PlayStation and who?
Steam.
Yeah,
and on Steam.
Yes,
so that is where there's a huge crowd over there. If you have quality software, the people will come. And that's something I said on Monday. And this will be the last thing I say before I say goodnight, is that, and I had I had my WWE speech on Monday night where I cut Colt off and I'm like, Colt, sit and listen. And the one thing I said is, I don't care what Phil says. Compelling, consistent, compelling software is what's going to bring people back. If you can't do that, it doesn't matter where you put these games. You can put these games on the moon. All right. It doesn't matter. On the Ouya, on the Soldier Boy. It doesn't matter. You can put them everywhere. But if they're not good, then it doesn't really matter where the hell you put these games or where the ecosystem is going or what your vision of the future is. They have to be good. And last year, sorry, but two of those games were bad. One, okay, and Hi-Fi Rush was amazing. That's not good enough. You have to be consistent, and that's what's going to actually, it's going to basically pave the road for their future, and that's where they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to do it with compelling, excellent software. But either way, gentlemen, I do have to run. I could sit here all night, but then my phone's going to start ringing, so you know how it goes.
We appreciate you coming here, brother. Thank
Asante,
you.
Hargeet, Chat, you guys are amazing. Have an awesome rest of the show, and like I said, after I'm done my work, I'm gonna listen to the second half of the show. So, gentlemen, have a great evening. We'll talk soon.
Take care, brother.
Man.
Thanks
All
so
right.
much.
See you, Meg.
Good night, boys.
So, Hargeet, we're going to bring you in a second, but let me catch up on Super Chats because I'm already behind. There's 11 of them. We have here Ultron Quake, who's been a channel member for 5 months. His Xbox just shuttered. Toys for Bob. F my life. Well, they closed the offices, not the studios.
Well, they closed one office.
Well, one office. So
we're not sure about anything else yet. We're
the
still
studio
waiting,
still exists. There are still people there. I know people want you want me to talk about it. What I'm going to do is I'm sitting down tomorrow with Mav at noon for obviously the new episode of X Vlog Live. C Money is taking the day off. He's going to spend it with the missus. Tomorrow is Doodle's birthday, so everybody wish her a happy birthday. I'm waiting for some more clarification. It's definitely one of the topics we're going to get to, but we don't have enough information, and I don't want to speculate any more than we've already speculated on so many things. So we will cover that tomorrow, that I promise. Highlander 001 has once again gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. So thank you once again, brother, for that man's
a workhorse, man.
He's an
How
animal.
many has he gifted so far? It's just
Dude,
nuts.
it's got to be 100 or more than that. And you know what? Like I said, folks, shout out to Highlander, but his excuse is that his wife won't let him buy the tank to run over her Prius. So I guess he said he wants to keep supporting, brother. That's super, super generous of you as always. Alvin drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, word on Toys for Bob news is that the offices are closed because they are relocating, That's why reports are offices instead of studio closing.
The misinformation, how it just like
It just goes.
Well, in that specific article, they also speak about Sledgehammer, and there they do speak on, hey, Sledgehammer is going remote, so they'll be relocated. They didn't really speak too much on Toys for Bob, so the assumption is it kind of be the same, or it could be something else. We don't know the facts.
I don't think they closed the studio because it's too important to obviously their prior franchises, and obviously I'm praying to the gaming gods that of course they do a banjo. I mean, listen, I'm still a banjo bro of Paris. Where's Paris Lily when I need him? My banjo bro, like the two.
I mean, they still have their own, right? Like Spyro and
yes,
and what's
Crash.
the other one there? Crash, right?
Yeah. They still have it. So Highlander 11 drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, Dune says fear is the mind killer. The rumors are all over the place because Phil went silent. Changing day and date with Game Pass may kill it. They're not going to do that, dude. It's the exclusive. I don't know who is saying that, but they are not going to kill day and date with Game Pass. It is the whole allure with the thing. It's what the other consoles don't have. It is the exclusive. I don't think that you might as well just pack up shop.
This is Microsoft we're talking about. They are about services. They put services everywhere. They're going to get rid of a service? I doubt that.
No, I doubt it. Crazy G14, welcome back, brother. Nice to see you. He has been a channel member for 6 months. He says, question for Mag, and I'm sorry we didn't get to it. Do you have a feeling on what Jez is sounding out about? What could be news drop next week? I didn't see. I mean, the only thing that Jez said is, if I recall, and I don't want to misrepresent what he said, and I'm paraphrasing here. Okay, I'm no longer concerned for Xbox consumers. I believe that's what he said in the tweet. He must have been dropped some information to kind of quell the fears of everyone that was freaking out. I mean, we'll know tomorrow. Next week. RC Polygons drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, I was thinking about Windows and the Surface hardware. Windows is more important than the laptops, but Microsoft still needs a foothold. The games are more important, but the hardware will still be there. Absolutely. I think, and again, if the reports are correct, based on what Mag said, that the Windows team is working on the handheld, it makes complete perfect sense. The dockable handheld. Quabini Gaming drops not one but $2 super chats. And the first one, he says this: thoughts on the FTC news about ABK layoffs? It's a joke. It is so ridiculous. It is such a Hail Mary. It doesn't even make any sense because they can't add any new evidence. They just can't. This is why the head of the FTC needs, they need a gutting. They need to put more new people in place and try and bring back some of the senior.
They're through September, as I understand.
At least through September. So we'll see what happens.
Who cares?
Who cares? His second super chat of $2 says they are upset they can't reverse ABK due to it. They're not going to be able to. Hogue Law made a mention of it. I'm not exactly sure, but he did speak on it. And I'm waiting to hear from what Florian has to say about it, because he's gonna tweet about it as well. Papal Penguin Gaming. Well, welcome to the program there, kind sir. He drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, I bought into the Dreamcast. It went the way of the dodo. Please don't get rid of the Xbox. Brother, Xbox is not going anywhere at all.
Sega didn't have Microsoft to back it. That's the problem, right?
Yeah,
Microsoft has way more than enough money to sustain this stuff.
doing. And by the way, let's call a spade here, folks. Dreamcast still the best console of all time. Come on, the Dreamcast, just amazing. One of the best American launches in the history of console launches. Adidas 20 has been a channel member for 13 months, brother. Thank you so much for the generous support. He says it's December 31st, 1999. The world about to end. Fake news. Yeah, I love it. Anonymous Boss, welcome back to the program there, fella. He says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Salute to everyone here. Pony's still port begging for Halo and Gears. Do you guys think those two big titles will go the PS5? It's a 50-50 chance, right? We're going to talk about that because today, very suspiciously, that's going to be the second half of the show. The president of Nintendo talked about how they're moving forward. Their plan was to use exclusivity as what their power moving forward. Because remember, their consoles are always less powerful and by a lot, but it's their exclusive that keep people coming, right? So we'll talk about that for a hot second. Piers Taylor, welcome to the program, Piers, and thank you so much for the very generous $5 super chat. And he says Microsoft abandoned the Windows Phone years ago, but would any of you guys buy an Xbox phone?
No, I'd get a Windows phone though.
I would definitely get a Windows phone. Yeah, I would definitely.
I love my Windows phone.
A lot of people
It's great.
Just
so you guys know,
cried himself to sleep over it.
If they make if they make a Windows/Xbox phone, it's an Android. All it is an Android phone with a cool.
They did. I have one.
There you go. Yes,
the Surface Duo.
But they just chose odd hardware, which at the time Google didn't really support, so it didn't really work out well for them.
Yeah, and I swapped it because they weren't doing any OS updates. I swapped it to the Google Pixel Fold, and I gotta say the Surface Duo was way better with the dual screen thing than and then this is Google, right? And it's way better than the Android implementation. I'm not happy with the Google Pixel Fold.
Yeah,
the Surface Duo was much better.
I'd say I'd buy one for sure. Like if and when they do that, I would definitely buy one because that means it'll have their app store most likely.
I wish people
all
did,
their launchers
yeah, that's
and
been
stuff. I would buy
the headache, but
Z Black Rider says he still has his Windows phone, as many people do. Like it is.
I have a bunch of Windows phones right there. Absolutely.
Look at that.
I still have mine.
That's a beautiful thing. Hargi, let's get your hot take on the information that came the way of Mag and the duo of consoles. Consoles are still happening. Xbox is going to have a console. The next generation console is coming, according to him, 2026. That's a big deal. I think what's even a bigger deal, and this is where you start to wonder, right? They're going to have the one that most hardcore Xbox fans want. That's the one underneath the box underneath the TV. I think they're going to really, really, really make some incredible headway with the casual audience on a cheaper handheld that obviously is not going to be as powerful, but is going to be portable and it's going to be dockable. And I think that not only does that do well here in this country, I think it's going to do really well in countries that are very portable and mobile gaming focused, i.e., Japan and Korea. And I think that when you start to see that you can take this Game Pass device or an Xbox device that you can put your games onto wherever you want to go. And again, I would imagine it's going to be somewhat reasonable. It's definitely going to be cheaper than the big boy. What are your thoughts, Hargi?
Yeah, so the two SKUs thing doesn't surprise me. And by the way, when we talked to Jason Ronald in the last June showcase, he said he was not working on the hardware team anymore. He's somewhere else, and so that's not news to me, at least. But what's interesting is what does this look like, right? And a lot of the things we're talking about, and people might get annoyed with the whole Windows thing. But here's the thing to consider. Let's say they're going to start with a new clean slate with a new generation. They could continue the path of a Xbox Core OS and then layer on the sub VMs to do the main things like the UI and then be able to play games and whatnot. One of the things they run into is it's very hard for them to get everywhere. But you know what is everywhere? Windows. Is literally everywhere, right? If you wanted to take a gaming system besides Android, Windows is the most prevalent one out there. So why not take advantage of that? It's yours, right? So if they like really just take a bold step, and I don't know if they're actually thinking this way or not, they should, and say, well, why don't we make our next console take advantage of our Xboxiness, but put it on Windows. And now we have a console that you don't have to program for just Xbox. So any game that comes out, including all those PlayStation games that happens to run on Windows, is now available to you on Xbox.
Indeed,
right?
sir.
Because it's just Windows.
Indeed,
right?
sir.
And
Yes.
if you start going down that path, like they have to solve for the consoliness part of it. That is a big deal. It cannot be Windows. I've tried it. It sucks. Windows on ROG Ally is terrible. Somebody sent me a party invite while I'm on my ROG Ally, and I couldn't figure out a way because I had it hooked up to the sanctioned ROG Ally power adapter that gets you HDMI to a TV. And I'm like, I can't, because I don't have a keyboard, right? I can't even it was so atrociously bad. That needs to be fixed. So they have to work that out. I fully agree with that. It cannot feel like Windows, but it can be Windows. Yeah. And if it's Windows and it's DirectX and you get basically the entirety of Windows as far as the stores.
Oh, there he is.
Can you imagine having that as the next console? You've eliminated the whole problem of that game didn't come to Xbox. Who's not going to put games on PC? You've got everything.
Some facts,
right? You literally have everything.
I kind of heard that. That's an interesting theory, dude.
Right? If they do that, not only do they first allow others to also compete with them, right? And they say, hey, you can have this too. We'll work with other partners to make equivalent Xbox-like console hardware, whether it's a ROG Ally 3, whether it's a Aya Neo 4, 5, whatever version they're on, right? Whatever it is, MSI Claw 3, 2.
You're thinking a little small now, man. How many devices have Windows running on it? Overnight, you have Xboxes everywhere.
Yeah, but the problem I run into is I need them to make it so that it's clean on the update side of it.
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't want because even on a ROG Ally that is a bespoke device, doing the updates.
No. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not a bespoke device. That is a off-the-shelf Windows device, which I have right here, and they just patch stuff into it. What we're talking about would be them defining it from jump in a specific bespoke way, not taking off-the-shelf Windows
and I'm okay with them going awry, right? Like saying, okay, I don't want to be exactly the same. Fine. They work with the Xbox team and say we're going to have a console-like device. Look, they've had certified devices before, right? So you can just say, hey, this is a console-certified device. Therefore, the update process is clean. The UI is automatically the console UI. Right, so you get all the consoliness fun, but it's Windows.
So just
now the next thing they need to do,
make it easy for people to understand. They are stealing Steam Deck UI. That's literally what they're doing,
right? Because who cares, right? So ultimately, what you get is you get full BC with not only everything on Windows, but you also get full BC with all the stuff that's virtualized on your Xbox Series consoles right now, right? So you'll get your Series games, your Xbox One games, your 360 games. Your original Xbox, the whole thing, all kit and caboodle, everything together, right, on this one device. But you get the Steam store, you get the Epic store, you get the GOG store, you get the Amazon store, whatever you want, right? And they would have to work with all of them to make sure that the feel is consistent, right? You want to buy the game on Steam, no problem. It still shows up in your My Games and Apps.
Yep,
it's right there. Comes from Steam. Who cares?
So they do a little GOG.
I just play my game.
I just play whatever you want.
They do a little GOG.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And where you end up with, because this is the next fight, right? Like they've pushed to say Apple and Google cannot have only their stores on their devices. Right. Well, why is the console like that? So they just totally bypass it and say, well, our console doesn't have that problem.
Right.
Our console has everybody's store.
Yeah.
If PlayStation wants to create a store, we're happy to integrate that in too. We don't care, right? Now they push all the competitors, Nintendo and PlayStation, to say, "Well, your turn. What are you doing?" Right?
It would change the industry once again. No, you're onto something here. It would actually force the hand of the other bigs,
right? And like Final Fantasy isn't. Sorry, we got all of it, everything, because it's PC.
and by the way, the idea of why would anybody want to put their stuff on your platform? It comes to PC first before it goes anywhere else. how it's
Correct.
always been. So
Right?
imagine
And
you
so-
tap into that.
Well, not fully, right? So, yeah.
Like
Well,
for instance,
let's
GTA for
welcome in
some
Pixel.
from annoying reason is not coming to PC first,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But-
exactly.
yeah.
So,
Yes. Yeah, some
But
of them will
ultimately-
be holdouts. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And that's fine. Whatever. There'll be a handful of games like that.
Every once in a while, you'll get your stellar yams that you have to wait for, but it's fine. It's okay. We'll wait for the yams. It's okay.
Changes the paradigm, right? It changes the paradigm.
Yeah.
So this is like, so to me, this is the move to make, right? It's to say, look, you own Windows.
Mhm.
What was the original intent? The original intent to bring the Xbox out was to put Windows in
in the living room.
room,
Yes.
right? Let's
So
make
literally
that
do
vision
that.
happen.
Put windows in the living room. Yes.
Let's make that vision happen, right? But it can't feel like Windows. It just has to be the core
Right.
of
Has to-
Windows.
yeah,
It just
it-
can't
it
work like
feels like
Windows.
Xbox.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And
Right.
if they can pull that off, which they can, they have the software, and this is a
Oh, yeah.
software company, they can do it. Right? These guys figured
Hargeet,
out how to freaking make backwards
Hargeet,
compatibility.
I can
work.
tell you, I can
do
do
it.
it. I've done it on this. It's just hodgepodge. So many community members have done exactly that. It's just not
Exactly.
100% perfect. They do
So
it, it'll be
It's close though.
seamless.
It's getting there.
Exactly.
It's
'cause we're
close.
Once
working,
you get
Yes.
through the headache, it's kind of nice, right?
Yes.
but they will work with their partners, right, to make
Yeah.
sure it all works consistently. Like everything you buy in Steam or Epic or whatever, it just shows up cleanly.
It just shows up.
It
That's
installs
right.
cleanly, right? Exactly, right? All that stuff just works, right? So that's the thing they have to do. If they want to take that bold step, that's the way to go. And then you're the console winner. It doesn't matter
That's right.
because you're on Windows.
Yeah.
Right? You can't deny at that point, hey, you're making a game for Windows, not Xbox, Windows. And your game will be sold to hundreds of millions of customers. Right? It's just automatic. It doesn't matter what the other side does. You automatically have the largest install base. That's what
This
that's
man
what they
seems
need
to
to
be
do, and
onto
that's just-
something.
They win automatically.
Well, listen.
So if they pull it off, which they can do it.
It
Mhm.
would be something. It really would, because at the end, what it would absolutely do is remove. It would knock down doors. If you could play anything that
Exactly.
came to PC, logistically, you could play on your Xbox home console or portable at will. It would
Right.
be. It would be something. Hey,
And it takes away the whole problem of third party. You know why? Now it 100% doesn't matter. Put games anywhere you want. People who want PC will buy games on PC, and you now offer that as an option, right? So much like Surface, take their hardware. They don't care. Fine. Take somebody else's hardware. They don't care. You're going to get their stuff and it's done, right? So if you're making the next ROG Ally, would you not want this? You would 100% want this.
of course,
So
you would.
basically, every
Yeah.
one of those is now an Xbox console from another manufacturer. It's just like buying a Windows laptop. HP, fine. Dell, fine. Don't care. Lenovo, fine. Make your own, don't care. Like, do whatever you want. We're happy. You bought into our ecosystem, right? And that's what ends up happening with this. So they suddenly have everybody. And then if you want to play it on PlayStation, oh, sure, fine, we'll put it there. You want to put it on Nintendo, sure, no problem. But this becomes the place to play because you have literally you can play games that were on DOS on Windows.
Yeah.
You can play games that are on Windows 95 on Windows, right? You literally have the entire catalog of everything that's available. All that Sierra stuff that they bought, Interplay stuff that they bought with ABK,
Mm-hmm.
play it on PC. You
Yeah.
can play all of it on
Because
PC.
actually,
Leave
that's a good
Sumerian
thought right
included in
there. Good.
Well, first
That's
of all,
a good thought, Hargeet. Well,
let's
please, go
welcome
ahead.
in Pixelbit G.
Go for it.
Sir,
Pixel,
yes,
it's
sir.
so great to have you here, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, I reached out to you this afternoon, specifically for the second topic.
Yeah.
But obviously, we want to get your. I don't know if you got a chance to hear that. You know, there is scheduled hardware in the form of an under the TV box, which is all what all hardcore Xbox fans are going to want to buy, as well as a dockable, less powerful Switch-like device, which was confirmed for us through documents that Mag had received.
Nice.
I think it's. I mean, listen, folks, I'm buying both. I
Well,
really
yeah,
am.
I mean, it's the secondary device that all hardcore players are going to want to get anyway, right? So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I heard just a little bit of it, but the interesting thing is it's something that many of us have been discussing in other forums. It's got to be
Hargeet,
for at least
literally,
a
his
year.
point is so finite and so awesome. If that comes to fruition, Pixel, that literally changes gaming unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it creates the paradigm that they always wanted. Um, and I've been a comment previously that Microsoft should have just purchased Steam, right? If this is the route that they always really wanted to go, right? I mean, they should have just purchased Steam, right? Because they kind of want to return to being more of a PC centric company. And then the only way to do it, like the minute they were starting talking about like ARM chips and stuff like that, our side conversation started talking about how do you deal with the console problem if you're now changing your chips, which won't be able to emulate the current hardware, right? And then somebody had pointed out that the original Xbox had like Power PC or something like that, right? So they've changed architecture numerous times, and then it is the Xbox One generation that was designed to unify all that architecture. So if they move to ARM, it wouldn't impact them technically because they already have an OS that can unify all those architectures.
Yep.
So you kind of see, they were going to be in a situation one way or the other where they're going to have to move closer to PC. So I was already saying that like they should be going towards the next console being a PC, right? It's just a small factor PC.
But guys, we need to be very specific when we say this, because anytime anybody says PC, it comes with those connotations. It's not the PC you know of today.
Right.
It will not boot with Windows.
No,
it will
but
not look like
what I
Windows,
mean by PC
but underlining it will be. Yeah.
Yeah, what I mean by PC is that the underlying operating system is able to manage things better than a console does, right? Console is very specific in what it can run, whereas the PC can run anything you want it to run, right?
That's
so
right.
in order for them to get around changing architecture, and yeah, Dreadpool, you're right. It was 360 that had Power PC. I forgot what Xbox, OG
360
Xbox
had
had.
Power PC. OG Xbox was running under a Windows 2000 kernel.
And
x86, right? And NVIDIA,
was it
right?
Intel and NVIDIA,
yeah.
I think?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, because they were originally working with AMD and then they walked away.
Yes.
Right.
So it was Intel and NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Right. So
but as has been described, though, the smart part about that is even though they leave that architecture behind, they then virtualize it so the forward hardware can still run the back hardware. So it doesn't matter what they change to, it still runs it. It's all good.
Right, because that's probably the biggest for anybody who's been on the platform for over 20 years, right? Your biggest concern is keeping the content that you previously had, right? So in terms of what Hargeet was saying, the one thing that would give me a little bit of pause related to that is that currently there are still some games that don't get published on the Windows store, that are instead only on the on their own stores, Steam or Epic, right? Because I think like Diablo probably isn't on the Windows store. I think it's only
eventually it will be, but yeah,
I mean, but
I'm not saying it has to be as far as the console. I think they should integrate with the other stores. I think they should plug in the other stores.
Yes.
But that brings up a question: should they go after Steam? Should they buy Valve? In other words,
well, I mean, that kind of be the golden goose at some point, right? To get Valve.
Yeah.
But before you even get there, right? If you're technically pushing a console paradigm mentally, right? A console paradigm, the concept of play anywhere is important, right? So one of the things that like Everborn always complains about, right, is not being able to automatically transfer all of his content over to PC. So that's probably the biggest hurdle that they have to deal with, is if you're going to integrate with other stores, and either making it very clear the distinction of what will show up on your console and what won't, and what of your console stuff will be play anywhere, right? And then trying to get more of a partnership with other stores to allow you to have that kind of play anywhere, even if it's the Baldur's Gate thing where you have their own, where they have their own save files on their own servers, right? And Microsoft would need to do the extra legwork to say, hey, here's our API that basically allows you to push your save file to our location so that we can push it back and forth for you. They need to do those extra steps.
Would it matter?
How about this?
It does matter, right? Because the people who buy console, well, maybe there's not a lot of us, right? I don't know, that buy console and also still play on PC and
they still want that integration.
And want that unified thinking like when I play, right, I have every console, I have every device, I have
Mhm.
every device, I have every device under the sun, right? I have everything, right?
Kind of like
So-
a
Well-
Asante.
Well,
Yeah,
but so in the case of Xbox, right? The
Mhm.
Xbox is just the PC, right? So
Mhm.
if you wanted to say cross save with PlayStation, fair enough. The developer of that game can go do that, right?
Yeah.
But if you're buying it on Steam or you're buying it on Microsoft Store or Epic Store, from an Xbox console perspective, it's irrelevant to you because you're just buying the game and it's available to you on your Xbox.
So let's address the cloud, the save part real quick, because as we were talking about it before, right? The community that's been waiting for them to get off their butt and get on the stick has kind of solved these problems for them in a crude way. Like I'll tell you, in our world where, hey, I'm playing my retro games here, I'm picking up, we have cloud saves, manually implemented cloud saves, right? Because if you have a Windows account, you have OneDrive that gives you at least 5 gigs and it's always running in the back. You just have to point your saves to the OneDrive folder. And then every time you go to your next device, you pick it up from that same OneDrive folder and you're continuing on. They have solutions for all of these, even though the developer himself says, nope, as long as the save file falls on a PC, which all save files do, you decide where that save file goes and you can redirect it and cloud save it elsewhere.
Nice.
So it's possible. It's just we have been kind of retrofitting it in our way. They can do the same thing.
But you heard the key point of what I'm saying, right? Is
of course.
It's not up to the consumer
it needs to be seamless
to make that
Yes.
seamless, right? It is
Yes.
up to
Right.
Microsoft.
They need to do
It
that.
would be
Yes.
up to the folks that are putting these consoles together
Mhm.
to make it so. See again.
No, but boom, do not leave it up to manufacturers to do it, right?
No,
The
you have to
OS
create it.
needs to
Yes.
do it. The
Well,
things
doesn't Steam
that
already
distinguish
do that?
Steam
devs.
from
Yes.
everyone else
Steam does
does,
that.
right?
Yes.
is that
Yes.
Steam
Steam
is
has a
Epic not
place
do
that
that
does
as well?
yeah,
Epic
Steam
does now.
Epic does
Okay.
it, but they have their own
Mhm.
thing,
So
right?
look, I think they would just work with those stores and just make sure
Yeah.
that like, hey, whatever we're integrating in, you have cloud
Yeah.
save, right? But anyway, I like these are details. It's not
Sure,
that big a
sure,
deal.
yes.
I think they'll work through it.
So you have techie guys talking techie stuff. It'll work
Well,
out.
I'm fascinated.
Which may
because
be
I'm not a
boring
tech
the,
guy.
audience.
No.
It's
I think
important, right?
I think the chat is quite enjoying it, to be honest with you, because again, look, I do these shows as a big old nerd. I'm excited for gaming. I've been gaming since 1978. I feel incredibly privileged to go from sticks and dots to what we have these days, which is lifelike graphics. It's amazing to have been able to be a part of that my whole life is gratifying. So when I hear this kind of tech talk, which that's not my bag. Again, I'm the guy that wants to pick up a device and I just want to press the power button and I want to see
working.
the same Xbox screen that I have on my TV and just go. Because I do I have the technical know-how? To some extent, yes. Do I want to be bothered with it? Absolutely not. I just want a console experience. And I think the way that Hargi broke it down is pretty damn interesting. And I got to be honest with you, my God, if they pull this off, because what he said is just imagine any game that is going to launch on PC. That means PlayStation, any PlayStation game that's on PC, Spider-Man 2018, Miles Morales, God of War, Horizon, the way that he explained it, by all rights, you would be able to play that game on your freaking Xbox.
See, so to drive that point home really
Please,
clearly,
by all means, drive the point home,
imagine
sir.
next week this fabled ridiculous thing comes to pass and they're testing it, and then they happen to hover over Helldivers 2, click, and you're playing.
That's
Possible.
It's
right next to Halo.
freaking brilliant. It's the Trojan horse that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Look, again, we don't know what next week is going to bring. I know what is definitely going to happen is we are going to get answers. Now, is it going to be the answers that every Xbox fan wants? Well, I have literally no idea. No one's talking. And I'm not listening to anyone that's talking because the only one that really knows what's going to happen is the people at Redmond. Now, I am going to say that, listen to your Colt Eastwoods, listen to your mags, pick your favorite, streamer or that you trust and they're getting some drips of information. I mean, Jez Corden himself, I mean, come on, that's who doesn't trust Jez? He came out and said, "Listen, after what I've heard, I'm not worried." That probably should have calmed some of the fears, to be honest with you. I mean, look, things are going to change. It's probably not going to be the same Xbox it once was, but your Xbox is going to be here. Hardware is coming. Now, the thing of exclusivity. Now that's a bit of a teetering, seesaw here. We don't know which games are going. So that's why I had saw something that Pixel G had put out there, and I wanted to kind of talk about that before. Obviously, we have about 45 minutes before the show ends. I do want to catch up on super chats, and I do want to run the Valari pillow commercial that I had made by Sean Labrie, and I'm going to do that before we get into the second topic. So real quick, JT Koo drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, "Boom and friends, please remain loyal to Xbox. This is a play for Game Pass to take PlayStation fans away. Xbox is brilliant, and PlayStation players will pay full price or choose to join Game Pass for $1. I'm not going anywhere, brother. I said that on Monday. This channel has 3 shows dedicated to the brand, and we are not going anywhere. We're going to continue to deliver fun and interesting conversation 5 days a week." Spartan661 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Matt Booty, the assassin said day and date is the way. Peaches is why we have it now. We should have we should have love peaches, booty for life." Laughing my ass off. I love it. RC Polygons drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "I would rather have day and date on Game Pass than exclusives. If it has to come down to that, plus if Game Pass goes even more third party, I can see Xbox make more studios and become the next Tencent." Look, I don't know. I've been hearing this talk about one or the other. I don't know who's saying it, and I'm not going to pretend to know if they're right or wrong. I'm here to tell you it makes no sense to me. They're not going to give up exclusives and then pull Game Pass or vice versa. Game Pass, the draw, the allure of having it and being sub to it is getting games day and date for your $16.99 a month. That's not going to go away. What first party games are going to go to others? We don't know. I would imagine they're going to break that down next week. Michael G says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. "Did you know Microsoft makes $15 from every Samsung phone and tablet due to patents? So PlayStation players with Samsung phones support Microsoft."
Basically, yeah.
I mean, those kind of internal things are all over the place. There's IP that a lot of these big tech companies own, and so random products you buy that you're going to get some payments here and there.
Yeah, there's tool sets that they own that other developers are using.
It's
that,
hilarious.
They have to pay Microsoft for. So
yeah, it's funny. Listen, you know what? That's why they're a $3 trillion company, folks.
Yeah, pretty much.
JT Koo drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "It's a perfect time to put out games on PlayStation because it has no games. All the money they're going to make could possibly bring Game Pass prices back down, and PlayStation fans are going to fall in love with the Xbox platform." I mean, maybe. For Federico Milantia drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, "From Rome, Italy, support Xbox game community. Welcome." Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Wow.
All the way from Rome. That is phenomenal. Welcome
Yeah.
to the program all the way across the world. Papal Penguin Gaming drops an additional $10 super chat. Thank you for the generosity, Papal. He says, "I'm trying to join your channel as a paid member, but I'm not seeing the join button on iPhone, iPad, or Safari. It should be on the right, like on the bottom. I'll take a picture and I'll snap. It should be there. But thank you so much for that, brother. Super appreciate it. That's very kind of you to want to join the channel. Markman05 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hope they create an Xbox app that auto maps each PC/device to run Xbox games at its best on whatever device you have." That sounds
Auto
a lot
profiling.
like
that
that sounds a lot like what they were talking about.
The thought.
Decided D drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I think Xbox should partner with Sega to make the next console. It would sell better in Japan and Europe. Yeah, imagine that. That would be dope if they did. That would be a branded Sega console. I would import that in a freaking second, not even thinking twice. C-Gun, Cola Hole? I think it is Cola Hole. Well, welcome to the C-Gun. Welcome to the program, brother. That is very kind of you to be here as well. Thank you for the outstanding £5 super chat. And he says this: when Xbox eventually goes third party, they should call their gaming app Xstream. I mean, I don't think they're going to go C-Gun third party, but that's an interesting theory. I mean, listen, we know the hardware is coming thanks to Mag, so I think that could that really did shudder a lot of fears, at least in my opinion. Snow Dragon drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, do you think they announce next week their move to a Windows Xbox OS, PlayStation PC games on Xbox? Wow. Yeah, I mean it doesn't even seem real. It's so good it doesn't even seem real, but well, we're gonna know next week. That sounds dope. It really does. Spartan 661 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Jezball was one of my favorite games to play. Jezball was a game? I don't even know that.
Isn't that Halo? What's the name of that? Wasn't that the weird
It's
ball
Griff
that you
Ball.
play in? Griff Ball.
Griff Ball. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, listen, Spartan 61, thank you so much for the additional $2, and I'm glad you enjoyed Jezball. I got to figure out what the hell that is. Now I'm gonna have to look it up on Google. Traybone408_ says this after dropping a very generous $2 super chat. People are scared because they only know console/exclusives. I mean, I'm that guy, right? Like, I'm a console guy. I've always been a console guy. I've never really dove into PC. It's just not my bag. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, they forewarned what is happening when they announced the restructuring with Sarah Bond alone linked with Xbox. I don't think that she's alone there. I just think that changes are coming, dude. Like, we're gonna see what happens. Sarah Bond is the president of Xbox. They made her that because she's incredibly talented and she's very smart. She comes over from T-Mobile where she made a big splash, and I think she's going to do fantastic as expected. I think Microsoft knows that. So look, real quick, folks. Obviously, when you become a content creator and you have a channel that starts to grow, you get opportunities to work with paid sponsors. One of the things that we get 12 offers, 15 offers a week for Double Barrel Gaming, but Mrs. BoomStick and I are incredibly stingy on who we brand with because it took a real long 6+ years to get here, and we're not in it to make a fast buck. We stand by the products that we have worked with in the past, and the specific one that I'm talking about is the Volari Gaming Pillow Company. Now, this is a mom and pop organization out of Dubai. The owner is as personable as you could possibly imagine. And obviously, and again, I'm transparent as they come. As you know, my career as a New York City police officer was cut short because of a massive spinal cord surgery that I have. And I'm fused L4, L5, S1. And there's a lot of hardware holding me together. So sometimes, and more times than not, when I'm gaming, I'm hunched over and it bothers me. Sometimes it hurts to sit. So when the Volari Gaming Pillow Company reached out to me and they said that this would improve my posture as well as give my lower back a rest, I was like, I don't know. That doesn't even sound right. So they said, well, let us prove you're wrong. And they sent me a pillow. And I started using it. And I was like, wow, this thing actually freaking works. So we partnered with them. And the pillow that I currently use is the one that was gifted to me by, of course, King David of the Iron Lords podcast. It's dope. It's got the gold trim. It's black. It's got the logo. Really, really nice. Real sharp. That's the one I use. And it does work. So instead of reading from a cue card, which I really don't like to do, I actually had this particular commercial, which I'm going to play for you now, crafted by Sean Labrie. And he's an amazing, talented artist. And if you are interested in potentially checking out the pillow, the Valari Gaming Pillow information is in the show notes. One click, you're there. And if you do decide to buy a pillow, DBG 15 will get you 15% off of your total order. So check out the commercial, folks. Here we go. And there you go, folks. And as you can see, Keasante has the Valari Gaming Pillow as well. Oh, you got an Iron Lords too. That's the exact one I have. It is dope. Oh my goodness. Even Hargeet Chani has one. I can't go get mine. Mine's in the room. I'm gonna have to leave off camera.
Oh, that's too funny.
That is dope. Listen, Pixel G, let's get you in here real quick. Because you said that you've had a tough week. Obviously, we're only at Wednesday, and you want to kind of drop your bars and bounce. So we brought you in here because, and I kind of want to just add some context to this. Peter Ovo, who we all know who Peter is on Twitter, it's Peter Ovo 5. He is one of the Twitter members or Twitter community that consistently puts out gaming news. He's up there with, of course, the Hazardor Gamings, and of course, many others who continue to, Idle Sloth is another one, Tip of the Spear. We're constantly getting information. So Stealth 40K on Twitter today tweeted something very interesting regarding exclusives. And Shantaro Furukawa, who is the president of Nintendo, tells investors that Nintendo will focus on console hardware and exclusives. Peter Ovo says, credit to Nintendo and PlayStation for doing what their gamers want. Obviously, that's a shot at Microsoft because we're hearing that there's going to be some exclusives. Certainly not all exclusives like was originally reported over at Saturday and Sunday. And Stealth 40K, shout out to him. It's Stealth 40K on Twitter. Basically said Furukawa told investors that making consoles is Nintendo's best strategy for success. He explained during this interview that merging their handheld and console businesses allowed them to put more software on the Switch for a longer period of time. And finally, he said he also stressed the importance of their exclusives. Pixel B, let's talk about it, man.
So I think the post that you were commenting to me about was when I said that the next time somebody tries to tell you that exclusives don't matter, this is how people really think. Is that the post?
Yes, that is the post. Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add context because after you posted that, we started to see this interview with the president of Nintendo, and I think you might have initiated that conversation.
So here's the thing, right? So, we every now and again we get this back and forth about the value of exclusion, right, in the market, right? And it's always interesting that conversation is only one way directed, right? It only talks about Xbox sharing content, not Nintendo or PlayStation sharing their content, right? And this industry is driven by exclusion. It always has been, right? It's been that way since the beginning of consoles, really, right? You need something to differentiate yourself in the market. This is something that Nintendo clearly understands, right? It's something that Sony understands, even if their own studios aren't producing the exclusions, right? They'll go out of their way to create exclusions. So I think my point earlier was that, like, I'm just tired of people trying to act like they don't matter, right? They matter in this space, right? Rather you think that you only purchase a console for a multi-plat game, right? There are a lot of people who only buy a console specifically because they see it exclusive and that they want to play, and it's only on that unit. So they still matter in the market, right? You have to have a way to bring people into your fold, and if you don't have the best place to play something, then you need to have titles that only can appear on your platform. And that's why so many people reacted the way they did to the idea of Microsoft losing more exclusives in a world where they barely ever have any. Right they have the
And
least
they're on the
exclusives in the
cusp.
market.
I
Right?
want to drive this point home, and I think you're going to agree with me. You said they normally haven't had that, right? They've had some hits, but they haven't had consistency. Pixelbit G, they are on the cusp of delivering like some real major heavy hitters. And listen, I understand that depending on who you ask, I thought 2023 was a phenomenal year
It was for me.
first party. That's my personal opinion on it, and I'm not
Based
a
on my
big
game
fan.
hours on
Yes.
platforms, yeah, they did a damn good job to me.
So
You
you
know,
look at this year, there are a lot of quote unquote bangers coming. And obviously, after 2024, 2025 is supposed to deliver even more. So
yep.
if you have these exclusives, people will buy into your ecosystem, whether that be PC or Xbox.
Absolutely, but you got to actually release them, right? You gotta release them consistently, right? You have to people have to know that these games are coming to your platform, right? So I think for me, like Microsoft's biggest issue has always been advertising, lack of, right? Not using the word of mouth
Messaging
game
always
as
a giant
opposed to
giant fail. Yeah.
yeah, but also just using word of mouth instead of actually advertising, right? You got this ridiculous service that nobody still knows about, right? You can ask a casual, go outside and ask a casual gamer, what's Game Pass, and they'll have no idea, right? That's a problem, right? So, you would like to see them advertise those exclusives more. You would like to see them hold on to more of those exclusives now that you finally have them, and try them on for size, right? Put them on like a nice T-shirt, right? Like a nice fitted cap. Wear them outside a little bit. See if the ladies like it, right? Before you start going around sharing shit. So that's that's kind of the point that I was wanting to make earlier, right? Like, you went outside, you purchased all this gear, right? Let's utilize it first, and then see what happens with it before, saying, "Oh my God, let's just go share it with everybody else." So, that pretty much was it. But I think Nintendo clearly gets it right, and then we see this Final Fantasy Rebirth came out as demo is out. It's hot, right? And
Looks
it's
phenomenal,
not
dude.
going to be
And
on Xbox or PC, right? It's only going to be on PlayStation, right? That's an exclusive, right? And people are
yeah.
going to buy into it because it's only on that platform.
Well, I
So
saw the conversation. People were like me, I didn't buy a PlayStation 5, but now I may have to.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, you got Jess saying that, right?
Yes. Jez Corden actually said that. Correct.
Jess said it right, and hey,
Yep.
that's legit because the first game was really good. So if you haven't played the first one, go ahead and play that too, right? So Microsoft needs to understand that concept, right? It's exclusives do matter to people, but you have to have a consistent amount of them, and people have to know every year that they're going to get these great exclusives on your platform. That's the only way they're going to come to your platform. It's always been how it's always that has always been how it is. So hopefully they're getting that message, but we'll see.
Well, again,
So,
we will certainly learn. But Pixel Brother, thank you so much for joining us, man. Again, I know you just got off of work, and obviously, you're exhausted. So again, dude, super appreciate you taking the time to be here.
yeah, man. I appreciate the invite, man. As always, it's a pleasure speaking to all you guys. Hard Geek, Asante. Next time hopefully I'll have some time. But I need to go play Minecraft with my kid because I told him I would. So
Go ahead,
before he
brother.
goes to
Family
bed, I'm
time
gonna
is
give him his
important
time.
time.
So
Thank you so much for being
all
here,
right,
dude. We'll
guys.
talk to you soon.
Enjoy, yo.
Hey,
Peace.
All
brother.
right, brother. All right, so Hargeet, let's get into it, man. Exclusives. Jez Corden, obviously he's a big RPG fan. He doesn't have a PlayStation 5, but he was kind of sold on that Final Fantasy Rebirth, and obviously it's weird how these things happen, right? Questions about what potentially will go to PlayStation and Nintendo, right? On the same, within the same, conversation sphere. Sony puts out they have they have 2 exclusives coming out, right? One is actually launching on PC and it's getting tremendous buzz, right? Which is the game that just launched on for
Helldivers.
Helldivers 2.
Helldivers 2. Yep.
And obviously they have the demo out for Final Fantasy Rebirth, which is an exclusive to the console. It's going to drive sales, it's going to drive buzz, it's going to drive excitement. And then, of course, it seems like it's running parallel. We have Peter Ovo out there talking about it, along with Stealth on 40K, talking about how the president of Nintendo says that he also during his interview he stressed the importance of their exclusives.
Yeah,
it's pretty powerful stuff with Xbox in the middle. Which is just on the cusp of putting out some absolutely astounding exclusives. What are your thoughts, man, on all of this happening almost at the same time?
So there's a saying that like exclusives don't sell consoles. That might be true, except for Nintendo. Because let's face it, Nintendo consoles sell because of their bloody exclusives because they're that good. They just do, and maybe you could say that of PlayStation, but to a point. Some of that just generates hype, and if you have that hype, it brings people there, and then more people, like, even if it's periphery people that just are hyped about it and buy it, their friends will buy it just because their friend is there, right? And look, a lot of casuals will buy a console just to play the casual games, but it's based on a hype cycle of what you hear in the ethos, right? Like. This console seems to be the good one to buy because people just keep saying good things about it. And that usually comes from enthusiasm, right? And if you have those kind of, very cool exclusives, you get that kind of, positive buzz, right? So yes and no, exclusives don't necessarily sell consoles, except for Nintendo. And Nintendo is just a unicorn. Let's just leave it alone. Nintendo's just Nintendo. But it does help. It does really help, right? If it just creates positivity, it helps. I'm remembering back to the 360 gen when you started that gen, and oh my god, the number of like exclusive, awesome games that it just had. It just created such a buzz. It's like I gotta have it, right? You had to. It became the thing. Plus, the Xbox ecosystem. Many of those games are multiplayer. And so it wasn't just, hey, I went and played Mass Effect, which was a fantastic exclusive, but it was also I'm playing Halo, right? I'm playing Gears of War, and I'm playing that with my buddies. It's just different, right? And so, yeah, it does kind of matter to have those kind of things. Now, again, if I look at the future and say, okay, let's say this gen, you just stay the way it is, just stay the course, right? Keep your exclusives, continue on. But if they do pull off what I was suggesting, which is like it goes PC, then the whole thing just flips. It doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Because
absolutely
everything comes to PC. Right. So you can say, well, okay, PlayStation has exclusives, timed exclusives, because all their games come to PC. Suddenly this whole script flips around. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter, right? If Xbox even decides to put half their games on other consoles, so what? They've got everybody else's games too. It's over. You basically just win by default. It's so different, right? Not to mention no paywall for multiplayer, right? PC, there's no paywall. You just play. You just play. So Game Pass becomes just Game Pass PC. And you have one SKU, or maybe they have the ad-supported SKU for those who can't afford to pay for the other. Like, fine, that's good. That's a good idea. I like, go ahead and do that. But then the normal SKU, which just has everything, fine. That just is it. You don't have to have like the third SKU because you have to pay for the paywall, right? It's just a whole different world, right? So we'll see. Like if the path, and this is what I've always said, right? Sometime mid next gen is when you start this journey towards third party. But right now, you have to stay the course. You have to keep people interested. So the exclusives do matter because that's the world you're in today. You have to deal with that world today. If you pull off the PC mode in the next generation, then you can slowly turn that tide. On top of that, and I think I've said this a couple of times now, is if you do that and say, look, we're not exclusively on anything, we just put our games everywhere, you can now just start buying up content.
Yes.
Really, you need to have content for Game Pass to sustain and grow. Right? So you just start saying, okay, fine, we're going to go buy Square, Sega, Take-Two. Doesn't matter, right? Just as long as you keep putting out the content everywhere, there's really nothing to block you until you get to a very large percent of the content. Well, it takes a lot to get there, right? So you keep buying and you get to a level where everything you're marketing is associated with you, and it doesn't matter if it comes everywhere else. It's okay. But you have to get there first. That's the big thing. So right now, yeah, you kind of need to have exclusives. And you're right there. You're right there. All
That's
your
close.
games are coming. You're right there. Just stay the course for the next 3 years. And then you can start talking about that. But I don't know what they're going to announce next week, right? So I mean, hopefully that's the thing. Hey, maybe a couple of games we're starting to see, hey, we need to kind of move these over. And then everything else is staying exclusive. But then as we move into the next generation, we'll start talking about how we evolve our business, right? So
Right.
but that's kind of so. Yes, you do need exclusives. You do need to have that in today's game, right? And Nintendo, yeah, it's a unicorn. It is what it is. Like their games are so crazy, it will sell hardware. I don't think I've ever heard of a game selling more than the number of units of actual hardware. Where
That
Zelda
happened
Breath of the
during,
Wild sold
Breath of the Wild. Yeah, dude.
more
Like, it's for real.
copies.
It's crazy. Yeah.
the actual hardware. Like that's just nuts. It's so crazy. But that's Nintendo for you, right? So yeah, I mean, yes, I think you do need to have exclusives in today's game. But if Microsoft can flip that script next generation, it's done. It doesn't matter.
It is going to listen. I don't know what's going to happen next week, but if that's the announcement, that is going to change gaming. Again, you remember that they've already changed gaming several times with some of the things that they've done. Obviously, Game Pass being
Yes.
the most disruptive. Game Pass
Yeah,
came in the summer of 2017 and literally changed how
It did.
people
Well,
they're buying.
2017 was fine. It's when it went with Day and Date, which was a year later. Was it
I
a
think
year
it was
later?
2018. Yeah.
That was what changed it. It's like,
Yeah.
so, wait, all your games? What? Hold on.
Hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Listen, Kay Asante, let's get your hot take on the quote unquote exclusivity play, because obviously Sony has two, right? Now, granted, is it a sole exclusive? No, Helldivers is, I think, the poster child
PC.
of why they need
Yep.
to go day and date with PC in their
Mhm.
games, right? That's
Yep.
a fact. But of
Mhm.
course, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm buying it because I know it's not coming to Xbox. And the first one was amazing. I didn't beat it. I have to actually run. I'm close, so I'm probably going to start that up. Give me a reason to turn on my PlayStation 5. I'm going to finish Final Fantasy VII. I'm going to jump into Rebirth because I'm a big nerd when it comes to that. Not all Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy VII is by far my favorite of all of them. So I want to get into it. I'm going to go buy it. But let's talk exclusivity, because right now, again, the president of Nintendo talked about how they're going to continue to obviously focus on their hardware with Switch 2, but he made mention of exclusivity being a major part of their business.
Absolutely. Now, agree. I don't disagree that exclusivity is a part of this business. It always has been, right? You've heard Satya Nadella say bemoan it on the stand, but it's a part of the business, right? And to say that, and what Nintendo would say, obviously, because they are the poster child of selling you a potato. As long as the content is like magnificent on that damn potato, you will buy that potato to play the content, right? And we all know that the phone in your pocket right now, pick up the phone that's in your pocket right now. If it's
my
an Android
S21.
phone,
Look right here.
No. Your S21 is too far. You know, the cheapy crap that they handed you when you were signing up to the service. Yeah, chances are that's more powerful than a Switch today. But it still has excellent games, and because of that, you will pay top dollar for it, right? So no doubt, exclusives matter. That's point blank, right? What I contend, the swerve that I bring to this conversation is the reason why these folks harp on that is because that's what's worked for them and will continue to work for them. So it is in their best interest to continue that model, right? Who are we talking about? Nintendo, a company who has like they can sell like let's say they sell 10 million consoles, they'll sell 20 million of the game for people who don't have the consoles yet but may buy the console later. Like people buy the game before they buy the console. That is unheard of.
No one does that but Nintendo, dude.
No one does that but Nintendo, right? We're talking Mario Kart 8. That game can be considered classic at this point. How long ago it was made. And still, to this day, it sells billions of copies, right?
And
there
you know what's crazy?
It's more copies of... Go ahead.
Not only does it sell billions of copies, still one of their best-selling games. Exactly. They just released a DLC with 40 tracks.
Yep, absolutely, right? There are technically more Mario Kart 8 copies in the wild than there are Switches because it's been multi-platform. It was on... I have the Wii U version that I will never play again, right? And it still exists, right? So I say all this to say there is no doubt that when you have exclusives, you bring the people to the yard. I get that, right? Where I find sometimes the pushback against Microsoft and the you need exclusives important, right? Where I find where there's pushback against that is their exclusives haven't worked so far because either they haven't had exclusives or they haven't had good exclusives, right? And all the while, their two competitors have had amazing exclusives. So how have they been able to circumvent or still stay around? They've had to give you everything plus the kitchen sink, right? The best infrastructure. Your cloud saves are everywhere. Oh, this game you had last week, now it's FPS boosted and it's better than it's ever been. They had to break the bank in ingenuity just to keep up because they can't do the exclusive game that the other guys have done, right? So what I suspect is happening here is to them, exclusives will continue to matter because like you guys have said, like everybody always says that Microsoft spends too much time analyzing the data. All the data says exclusives matter. It all does, right? Yeah. But it also says that without those righteous exclusives, they've still been able to hang on with insanely great features and services and all that extra stuff that they give you. It hasn't made them champions, but it's helped them continue to thrive. So I think they're giving you a combination of the two. Will there be exclusives? Mark my words. I would be surprised if they go, everything is across the board. At some point before we leave this mortal coil, I suspect you will see Halo on PlayStation or someplace else. Some point. But it won't be until you're old and gray and almost leaving this place before you see that. Because then eventually, all the graybeards are seriously gone. Because they know that the minute they even talk about it, the graybeards are throwing themselves off the bridges and they're cutting their parachutes while they go down. You hear it. You see it in the streets, right? You see it, right? What was it? Last week, I put a bunch of tweets out on all my favorite shows. Every time this conversation was brought up, and I kept saying it over and over and over again. We are the horseshoe makers. And what happened? The Jetsons just went in the upper atmosphere. We're like, what's that? And now we're like, oh my God, what does this mean? We are going to get left behind eventually, but not anytime soon. Now, what I suspect you may see, most likely, is they'll just a tip. Just a little bit.
Hold on a second. This is PG-13.
Yeah, as everyone said, you know, as he says, a wise woman once said to him, buy me dinner first. Just a tip. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see it happen this gen or next gen. You're going to see them experiment on things. Maybe sometimes your old graybeard, battle mentality will get the better of you because they have been, and it's not your fault if it gets the better of you, because they've been cultivating this kind of energy since the days of Nintendo, what Genesis does.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they've been cultivating. So whether it be through the old school platforms or even the current platforms, they have always been cultivating that this is our platform versus your platform. And now they're literally potentially upending everything. So you will feel uncomfortable. It's just natural. It is absolutely natural. And it's up to them to thread that needle of, just a tip for now. And by the time you don't care is when it goes all the way to where you don't expect it to go. You know what I'm saying? So I say all this to say, calm down, people.
Yeah.
You're not going to see Halo go to PlayStation anytime soon. You won't.
I don't see that either.
You know,
I know
you may
there's been
see
some reports,
Sea of
but
Thieves or any of those, and those will be fine, right? And let me personally be clear with my feelings on it. I really don't care that much where it goes, you know. And again, please, before the virtual tomatoes come at me, right? I've said it from day one. You come into your decision making in this specific scenario depends on where you come to it, how you are brought in, right? If you are the guy that's so used to, oh, this is my box, this is where I play, and now they're changing it on you, it's surprising. It's unnerving. I can completely understand that. But if you're a dude like me who goes, oh yeah, this abacus plays this thing at 2 frames per second, you dump it and you put it on this thing and now it's playing 60 frames per second, you don't care what they say because you can do whatever the hell you want. So that's why I don't care what they say. If I don't like what they have to offer me, I'll go somewhere else because I have options. But for those of you who don't have options, for those of you who have stuck by them, I don't think they're the type of people to go, we're done with them. Peace out. Cut the cord. All of your past stuff is gone. We don't care if you, no, they will take care of their people. They have cultivated the community. I'm pretty sure they'll continue to do so, right? You may get a little uncomfortable because they have to kind of, prime the pump a little bit, let people know that, hey, it might be someplace. You might hear something. What I'm hoping for, me personally, I'm hoping that when this thing comes to pass and they start talking, they'll be more descriptive and definitive as to what they are doing. Meaning, hey, you Xbox customers, this is what we're assuring you. This is your assurance. You will be good. This is what we're providing you. This is what we want you to understand. Trust us. We got your back, right? Now, those who don't want to partake in this specific platform, maybe you get some of this. Maybe you get some of that. When will you get it? Keep waiting. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe a year, maybe 2, but you're going to have to keep questioning. You're going to have to keep asking that question. And if you're that much of a gamer, let's see how long you wait. Maybe it'll come. Maybe you'll end up buying a console or getting a secondary thing so you can be part of the program, right? And I think that's maybe the fine line they may walk there. I just want to wait and hear how they deliver that message before I decide if it's going to work or not.
Say, right? Yeah.
It's listen, we're all going to be waiting, and it's going to be a day that again, we more answers than questions is what the preferable way for it to go. We don't again. I would caution anyone to kind of just at this point, everything that needed to be said has been said, whether it be subtle or a message from Phil cryptic. We know that it's coming. The information that we're looking for is coming next week. We're already at Wednesday. I would say, just kind of pump the brakes a bit. I don't think everything.
Check your parachute
everywhere.
Before you jump.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, again, folks, I can't believe 2 hours went like that. Let me catch up on these last couple of super chats. We have a new channel member as well. We'll get outros and get everyone out of here on time. Papal Penguin Gaming. Wow, he's become a channel member. Papal, thank you so much for that. It's very kind of you.
So he figured it out, right? He was
figured it out, yeah. And that's all the way from Rome, which is fucking amazing, unbelievable. Chris Washington drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, maybe Microsoft bought more studios and now they have to go third party now. I think listen, are they going to buy other things? Probably. I don't think they need to go third party. I just don't. I think that games like Activision's Call of Duty and things of that nature, Diablo and such, and Overwatch, they're going to stay third party. I think will you get some Bethesda stuff in there potentially? Does the Starfield thing come true? Again, I don't know. But at this point, I hate to say it, but I don't think that they need it, to be honest with you. Like I said, I really feel that they're on the cusp with their exclusives to get people into the ecosystem, and exclusives matter. They still matter to me. I think they still matter to the conversation, but we'll see soon enough. And Spartan 661 clarifies what Jess Ball is. It was Minesweeper. Microsoft games for Windows. Man, I remember playing that. I did not know it was Chess Ball, though. That was pretty dope to find that out. But look, folks, a big thank you. We had almost 800 people here today. Hopefully, you enjoyed the conversation enough to obviously hit the like button if you're already subscribed. But if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because Mrs. Boom and I are on the hunt for 15K. And, well, we're about 800 and something subs away. Would love to hit that. We have a lofty goal of 17, to hit 17 by the end of 2024. I don't know if we're going to get there, but, you got to put goals in front of you. Let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Hargeet Chani. Obviously, we've seen Septic Sauce show up in a couple of spaces, make some really powerful points. I'm wondering if there's going to be any Septic Sauce videos, but obviously what he does, obviously with Asa on Saturdays, and obviously you're a part of Game On Daily. Please sell the brand. Tell everyone where they can check out that amazing work that the team does over there, and more importantly, not find you on social media.
Yep. So GameOnDaily.com, YouTube.com/GameOnDaily to check out the main channel, and then there's Septic Sauce on YouTube, and then Gaming Arcadia, which is Asa's channel, which has they've actually been running a podcast for the last few days, every day. So, but usually around 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern time. Check that out. But
that's
Thursdays,
Deadly Headley, and of course,
and Gamsley,
and Deadly Headley, of course. Yes, those are the two his two podcasts.
So Thursday, that'll be tomorrow. So check that out. And then I'm on with Fonz. We did ours, yesterday because Fonz wasn't feeling well on Sunday, the usual time, on Fonz Gaming's channel on Games Talk Live, or at 6 p.m. U.S. Eastern time. But we did one during the RDX time slot, 8 p.m. Yesterday. So check that out. We had D-Batch show up, so we had a mini RDX.
That's cool.
So, check that out. We talked a little bit about what the hardware will look like. We didn't really talk about what the specs would be as far as the next gen hardware. We talked more about the ecosystem. But yeah, we had kind of a discussion about that. And then there's Primetime Gaming next week. We'll see. This is probably going to be after, I'm guessing, the big reveal of whatever Xbox is doing next week. So we'll I'm sure be talking about the fallout or whatever you want to call it from that. And oddly enough, there was another a state of play to go over Final Fantasy, and we barely talked at all about PlayStation.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah,
because Xbox is always dominating the news cycle. So
good, bad, or otherwise, right?
Yeah, no. And we're barely talking about the state of plays. Too bad for PlayStation, but there you go, right?
Well, listen, Hargeet, brother, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And listen, again, we're always laughing here, and that's the fun about doing these podcasts. Asante, sell the brand. Obviously, the Gaming Circle podcast, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, it's usually Asante. It's the slanderous one, Everborn Saga, who now has grown his knees back, so he's standing up straight. That's great to know. Yeah. And you have a guest or three every now and again. Sell the brand, brother. And also, please let people know about the Gamers Playground Mondays with John Wolf. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
So first and foremost, as usual, thanks to all the folks that are here. Always great to be here with the community. We could talk games. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Think about subscribing, because come on, we have to get this man over that threshold. It's a small threshold at this point. There might be enough people in here to get that done. So let's absolutely do that. This week, believe it or not, there will be no GCP, because we are prepping to head to the festivities, because the slanderous one will be tying the knot, and we will all be there I'll be there to witness it, and most likely, maybe we'll post something on social, get people out there, people enjoying that. So there'll be no GCP on Saturday, but before I leave on Sunday, I will be a guest on Xbox Era. I actually got confirmation from
dude. Excellent.
Today. So I will be there on Xbox Era. So there'll be more of this talk to go around. And Special Nick and his rumor mills, it might be.
Well, he was in the chat, so shout out to Special Nick from the Xbox Era. I said hello to him.
Indeed, yes, indeed. So, as I've said, We have speculated about these handheld things all the time. So probably by the time we come back and do another GCP, we will know more, and we're gonna be ridiculous. Because if we're right, oh boy, you guys will not want it. It'll be
intolerable, is what you're saying, sir.
Yes, it'll be one of those shows. But come check us out, K Asante on TKO Asante on the Twitters and the Xboxes and all those places. And of course, you follow me, I'll try to follow you back. And come check out the Gaming Circle podcast, which is usually on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the Gamers Playground, which is a show potentially about handhelds and PC games, which you have on Monday night. Because I know there will be a lot of 101s, a lot of noobs that maybe need to get tutelage a little bit, because it is becoming the best place to play, as you guys are figuring out based on a lot of conversations we've had today. So come check us out. Learn something, maybe teach us something. That's part of the community. So thank you guys so much for the continued support. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. So appreciate you being here. And of course, once again, folks, thanks for hanging out with us. Nearly 800 people tuned in. Obviously, the game that you've been seeing is Army of Ruin. It's $8. My God, it's so much fun. And it's all I want to play. I'm playing this, and I'm playing Suicide Squad, which is phenomenal, but not everyone likes it. It's okay. You don't have to like every game. Of course, we want to once again thank you for all of the generous super chats. One actually did come in at the back end from Gamer by Choice, drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "I will play on Xbox until I can't." Great show. That's right. Thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and the kind words.
One last thing, because people were asking for it, and it was confirmed while we were podcasting. Jez has confirmed that the studio is not in fact closing. It's just the office.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'm gonna reach out to Jez, see if I can get some maybe a quote, because tomorrow at 12 p.m. Don't forget, I'm sitting down with Matt from Fun Speculation, and obviously we're gonna break everything down. I have a couple of topics that I've already pulled, but that specific one I want to get into, because obviously Toys for Bob is a phenomenal studio, and you don't want to see them go anywhere. Absolutely. But of course, again, thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the channel members. Thank you to all of the new channel members. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, folks, will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, "Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day." So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.